The Thai government claims that the number of Chinese tourists has dropped by nearly 35% this year, and Thailand's tourism has been impacted. However, many Thai people are clapping their hands in approval. A taxi driver named Pun believes that fewer Chinese tourists is actually a good thing. He points to restaurants and hotels along the street, saying that they used to be packed with Chinese tour groups, but now they mainly serve European, American, and Japanese tourists. He says, "We Thais actually don't like Chinese tourists very much because they often engage in shady transactions and operate on the edges of the law. I really hate that." Pun also mentions that Chinese tourists used to prefer luxury consumption, but now most of the tourists are independent travelers who value culture and experiences. He says he welcomes this type of tourist more. Many Thai business owners also complain that cheap Chinese products and low-cost shopping tours have hurt their businesses, leading them to have increasingly negative views of Chinese people. In addition to the general public's negative view of Chinese tourists, some scholars believe that Thailand's tourism industry shouldn't rely on tourists from a single country. A study on Thailand's tourism industry also mentions that while the large influx of Chinese tourists has brought significant growth to Thailand, it has also raised concerns among local commentators and residents. This reflects the structural risks of relying on a single source market. Sunthorn Bunkao, a lecturer at Walailak University's Hotel and Tourism Department, also states that relying too heavily on one market makes Thailand's tourism industry economically vulnerable, and urges the country to accelerate the development of diverse tourism sources. This is also related to the recent reputation of Chinese people abroad. More and more Thai people believe that the troubles and noise caused by Chinese tourists are far more bothersome than the money they spend. In February 2025, a 33-year-old Chinese tourist named He was captured on surveillance cameras in Chiang Mai, spray painting cartoon figures and Chinese characters on a pharmacy's metal gate. He was later arrested by the police. The shop owner and nearby residents were very angry, feeling that it was not only a public disturbance, but also disrespectful to the local community. In October 2024, a video of a Chinese tourist in Thailand using a slingshot to shoot birds caused a stir. In the video, you can faintly hear a few Chinese customers discussing in their dialect, "How could birds come here?" Then a Chinese boy shouts, "Ali gay." Ali gay is internet slang for "go for it." The video has been shared and reported by several Thai media outlets. Many Thai netizens have expressed their frustrations in the comments section. One person said, "Honestly, some Chinese tourists shouldn't be allowed entry. They bring their country's habits here, and it's really annoying. Like when I was at a buffet, Chinese tourists came and took whole plates of pork and shrimp, not caring about others, and they were so loud." Another netizen commented, "Most of the Chinese tour groups have very poor manners, and sometimes the tours are zero cost, with Chinese guides, Chinese-owned restaurants, and Chinese-owned hotels. It's so bothersome. Why do most Chinese people not respect the laws of other countries? They bring their bad habits everywhere, and it's just awful." A blogger also mentioned, "Some Chinese tourists are really capable of doing things like this, like the time a guy threw a peacock at the zoo in China. Now he's bringing this kind of bad habit abroad. It's just shameful." There are also some actions that may seem less severe but still leave a bad impression on Thai people, like getting drunk and causing a scene, or shouting in public. These incidents get filmed and uploaded. Thai media and social platforms often feature headlines like "Chinese tourist loses control due to drunkenness," "shouting at airport or mall," "arguing with staff." These videos, often accompanied by Thai and English insults, only reinforce the negative stereotypes of Chinese tourists. It's not just Thailand. Countries like Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan have also have many people with negative impressions of Chinese tourists. Recently, a video surfaced on Malaysian social media of a Chinese female tourist throwing coffee at a Malaysian staff member and verbally abusing her in a well-known chain coffee shop. Many Malaysians commented that Malaysia's visa-free policy for Chinese tourists has led to chaos. South Korea's situation is similarly complex. On September 25, 2025, South Korea opened up visa-free entry for Chinese group tours, and the number of Chinese tourists surged. However, reports of public urination sparked complaints. South Korean media refer to Chinese tourists as rude, a sentiment that remains deeply ingrained despite recent improvements. With tensions between China and Japan, Chinese tourists have turned to South Korea, making Seoul the top choice. But South Korean netizens have split reactions. The economy welcomes them, but the culture rejects them. Japan has even more political overtones. In 2025, the number of Chinese tourists to Japan dropped sharply, influenced by political remarks. In October, the number fell to 715,000. Tourism stocks plunged, losing about $14 billion. On Reddit, Japanese people complained about Chinese tourists being impolite. These cases reflect a global challenge in the image of Chinese tourists. Such incidents continue to rise, and the label Chinese tourist is gradually losing its neutral meaning. It now symbolizes uncertainty in social order. It represents not just occasional loud noises or littering, but also a sense of entitlement, cutting in line, bossing around service staff, and treating foreign cities like disposable amusement parks. The problem, of course, isn't only with the tourists. Many tourist behaviors are a result of decades of tourism industry development in China, which has trained tourists in that direction. Low-cost group tours, forced shopping, and guides relying on commissions. The entire industrial chain leans towards filling seats and pushing shopping, rather than promoting respect for local life and culture. At the core of this is the Chinese Communist Party's long-standing understanding of development. As long as GDP looks good, the number of outbound tourists is high, and the consumption data is online, it doesn't matter if the residents' quality of life, environmental carrying capacity, or respect for local societies are neglected. So the government proudly writes in its statistical reports that Chinese citizens' outbound tourism hits a new high, while in the hearts of the Thai people, another sentiment is quietly brewing: that it would actually be better if fewer Chinese came. On the other hand, the gray market activities involving Chinese people in Thailand have also greatly irritated the locals. This infamous reputation has even extended to Thailand's prison system. On November 22, 2025, Thai media exposed a shocking corruption case at the Bangkok Central Prison, with Chinese criminals at the center of it. Investigations revealed that these Chinese prisoners, using huge bribes, had almost bought the entire management of the prison. Items like banned electronics, knives, and lighters were casually brought into the cells. What's even more outrageous is that these Chinese prisoners were even able to hire Chinese models to provide them with sexual services, bypassing all security checks with the help of prison guards and using secret passages to enter their cells. After the case was exposed, the Thai Minister of Justice was furious and immediately replaced the prison warden, launching a full investigation. For Thai society, this is not just about prison corruption, but further confirms a reality that deeply unsettles them. The power of Chinese cross-border criminal groups is so strong that they can manipulate even Thai prisons. Beyond such large-scale cases, more widespread and deeply ingrained gray market behaviors have long since created complex and even wary emotions towards Chinese people in Thai society. First, the issue of illegal labor is very prominent. Thailand's Ministry of Labor set up a special task force to investigate the so-called gray Chinese labor problem. They discovered that many Chinese people in Thailand were working in jobs prohibited for foreigners. For example, 2 Chinese women were arrested by immigration authorities for working illegally at a traditional clothing rental shop near the Grand Palace in Bangkok. They only held tourist visas. This phenomenon of coming in as tourists but working illegally has led some Thais to associate Chinese tourists with illegal workers, feeling that these people are not just here to spend, but also to take jobs. Secondly, fake medicines and fake beauty products have also caused frequent problems. In March 2025, Thailand's Food and Drug Administration uncovered a major case involving counterfeit cosmetics, food, and medical devices imported from China. They totaled approximately $143 million. Nearly all of it had flowed in from China. At the same time, illegal silicone implants and unregistered medicines were also discovered in Bangkok. These gray operations have ultimately backfired on local Thai businesses, completely changing the way they conduct business. In the past, Thai business owners relied on offering quality products, unique services, and personal attention to customers, making real profits from each visitor. However, after the arrival of low-cost tours, tourists are dragged into fixed duty-free shops, jade shops, and latex shops, where the money spent on cards doesn't go into the pockets of Thai shop owners, but is instead pocketed by group buying companies, tour guides, and kickback chains originating from China. Many Thai local shop owners angrily say that the customers come to our country to play, but the money goes back to their own country. What's even more frustrating is that most of the products sold by these so-called shopping tours are low-cost goods directly imported from China. No matter how fancy the packaging is, they're still cheap resold items, with prices marked up by tour guides 3 to 5 times. Local small shops near tourist attractions, which once relied on honest business, are now facing this monopolistic interception, causing their business to drop sharply. Locals see Chinese tourists coming in buses, but find that they can't make many sales in a day. This psychological gap built up over time naturally leads to increasingly negative impressions. For small vendors in Thailand, for Thai society, this model, driven by Chinese capital and relying on strong-armed shopping commissions, essentially disrupts Thailand's normal market system. Over time, many Thai people have directly associated low-cost tours, cheap goods, and Chinese tourists with a negative label. From another perspective, the sharp decline in tourists shows that Chinese people don't have money anymore. Over the past decade, China has been the world's largest spender on international tourism, but this was built on a foundation of real estate prosperity, loose credit, and continuous income growth in the middle class. Now, these pillars are almost entirely collapsing. Whether it's declining incomes, depleting savings, mortgage pressures, or the chain reaction of unemployment, more and more Chinese families are crossing international travel off of their budgets. According to multiple polls, the disposable income, cash flow security, and future expectations of ordinary Chinese families are all significantly declining. Since international travel is not a basic need, it is the first expense to be cut when money becomes tight. Thailand, which once relied on Chinese tourists for 25 to 30% of its tourist revenue, is now directly impacted. This is not about disliking Thailand or fearing danger there. It's about real economic issues. Many middle-class Chinese who used to visit Thailand 2 to 3 times a year can no longer even afford one trip. Previously, they would stay in 5-star hotels, charter boats, go diving, and island hopping. But now they're sticking to domestic travel, or even cutting costs on short weekend trips. The once generous, lavish Chinese tourists are rapidly disappearing, replaced by budget-conscious tourists who are extremely sensitive to prices. This trend is not unique to Thailand. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and Singapore have also reported a sharp drop in average spending per Chinese tourist. What's even more crucial is that the broader domestic environment in China has made people more reluctant to spend. The real estate market is frozen, the economy is weak, and employment is unstable. Social sentiment is shifting towards conservatism, with young people facing reduced incomes and increased debt, while middle-aged families are squeezed by mortgage and education expenses, leaving them unable to consume. In the past, it was often said, a trip to Bangkok is cheaper than traveling domestically. But now even airfare has risen, and the Chinese yuan is weakening. Ordinary consumers are naturally more hesitant. Thailand's rising prices and the increasing reliance on Western tourists only makes things worse for Chinese tourists, whose incomes are already shrinking. Many have realized that their cheap destination is becoming expensive. Thus, the 30 to 35% drop in Chinese tourists seems sudden, but it's actually the inevitable result of economic trends over the past 3 years. It's not that Chinese people suddenly don't like Thailand, but that they don't have the money, don't dare to spend, and are uncertain about the future. International tourism is essentially a barometer of economic confidence. When the Chinese themselves feel the pinch and the future seems uncertain, countries like Thailand, which heavily depend on Chinese tourists, will naturally feel the chill first. Some believe the decline in Chinese tourists to Thailand is also due to security concerns related to the shadow of Myanmar's online fraud centers. The spark for all this can be traced back to the incident involving Chinese actor Wang Xing, who earlier this year was trafficked from Thailand to a cyber scam center in Myanmar. Although Thai police repeatedly emphasized that no locals were involved in this crime, the rumor that Myanmar scam centers use Thailand as a transit point has become widespread. As the cross-border fraud chain continues to unravel, the international community has finally taken action. The United States, United Kingdom, South Korea, and other countries have imposed sanctions on Cambodia's Prince Group and named Myanmar's northern fraud networks as a global security threat. However, China, the country most affected by this, has chosen to remain silent, and neither the Ministry of Foreign Affairs nor state-run media issued any official statements about the Prince Group. Meanwhile, Thailand and the United Nations consider Chinese citizens trapped in the scam center as humanitarian victims and are assisting with rescue efforts. In contrast, China insists on treating many of the trafficked victims as suspects. This cold indifference from the Chinese government stands in sharp contrast. The deeper issue lies in the fact that these cyber scam centers are not entirely disconnected from the Chinese Communist Party. The owner of one of these scam centers attended a state banquet hosted by Xi Jinping in the Philippines, a privilege that is not typically granted to ordinary overseas entrepreneurs. Another key figure in the scam scam centers, Golden Tiger owns several companies in China and maintains close ties with local police. Internal sources have revealed that many police officers in China know this boss. The technological, capital, and labor supply chains that fuel the fraud empire come from China's already well-established gray and black market ecosystems. In other words, the rise of Myanmar's cyber scams is not only the result of local warlords and gangs, but also directly linked to the CCP's long-standing tolerance and outflow of gray capital. It wasn't until the issue became internationally exposed that Beijing began to take a crackdown stance, but the profit chains and protection networks that have benefited from the situation for years have never been truly dismantled. One netizen sharply pointed out that the apparent decline in Chinese tourists to Thailand is a sign of tourism shrinkage, but beneath the surface, it reveals the CCP's long-term export of gray ecosystems, nationalism, and institutional dysfunction. When all countries begin to avoid Chinese tourists, the real disgrace will not be the common people, but the regime that casts a shadow over them wherever they go.